Hello and welcome to another edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball on this first full weekend of college football. So a lot going on right now in the world of sports. Got the NFL starting up Thursday. In college, we're both happy because our team won yesterday, our home opener. Even though they should have won, but still, you never know with UVA. Virginia Tech losing to Vanderbilt's huge. That's crazy.
There's a lot of happy people around here who went to Tech.
Yeah. I texted one of my friends, he goes, well, all is well. Virginia wins and Tech loses. So
there you go.
Great in the world. So how are you doing this weekend, Dad? You're staying above the waterline, or?
Well, I mean, that's my back's a lot better. Last week, I'm going to go into it in a little bit because I always go back and look at the show and see what, because I make mistakes every week. I just want to see what they are. And I made several last week, but I was hurting really bad. My upper back was just in real bad shape. But anyway, it's a lot better. I mean, I cleaned the house and all that stuff this week, and cut grass yesterday, and I'm still upright, so I can't complain.
Good.
The weather's going to cool off, so that's good. Before we get started about baseball, this really bothered me this week because I'm a big I like ice hockey, the NHL. And
I know you're going to talk about that.
The Columbus Blue Jackets, a young man, 31 years old. I think his name is Johnny. I think it's Gaudreau or
Gradere.
Gradere. It's Gradere. He's an excellent player.
Mm-hmm.
He and his 29-year-old, he's 31, and 29-year-old brother Matthew were killed this week by a drunk driver in New Jersey while they were riding their bicycle.
On the weekend that he was in town for his sister's wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were out riding bikes, and they got killed by a drunk driver. I also saw in the story that I read that thousands of people have been killed in the last 5 years in the United States riding bicycles by being hit by cars. So,
I worked with a young lady when I was in Iowa. That happened. Great young woman, had the rest of the world in front of her, and somebody made a bad decision to get behind the wheel when they shouldn't have, and
so a young gentleman that he was the quarterback at Petersburg High School, went to school with your stepmom. They were in the same class. So his daughter was killed same way. It wasn't a drunk driver, but it was.
Yeah.
She was riding a bike, and so anyway, condolences to that family. It's heartbreaking. It just hurts. I owe a lot of apologies to a lot of people because I just messed up last week. First of all, I made the assumption because I wasn't watching the Little League World Series, which I always do.
You texted me.
I got tied up watching the Major League games. And I was watching some of the Major League games, and I forgot all about it. I assumed Texas, which was killing everybody, beat Florida, and Florida beat them. Right. And then Florida came back and beat Taiwan. Now, I saw that game. I saw the end of the game after we taped our show.
And I watched the end of that. That was man, I felt so bad for the Taiwanese kids because
I hope all the Major League teams saw that end of that game because guess what, guys? Florida won on a bunt.
Yes.
They actually bunted the ball and they won the ball game
because
the second baseman didn't cover first base and the pitcher threw it right over the back. But anyway, it was a bunt. So that was wrong. I wanted to talk about Chaz Chisholm coming back and playing for the Yankees, and I called him Dela Cruz instead of Chaz Chisholm.
I was wondering who you were talking about.
I said that was stupid. So those were they were the two worst.
You know what? Chaz Chisholm, I don't know if we talked about it, but that weekend in Williamsport when he couldn't play, he was everywhere around that ballpark. He sat with every team, talks with every parent.
Yeah, I mean,
he was just everywhere. Sat up there with the announce crew. He was everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they said that they were talking to the kids, after the ball game the next day, and they were talking to all the kids, and he was their favorite player.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he was talking. I was like,
great guy.
I felt bad because I used to criticize him about him in Florida, but I was like,
well, I'm gonna tell you what,
he won me over that night.
He's doing well with the Yankees.
Yeah,
he's really doing well.
I think he was the guy in a small pond. Now he's in a big pond, and he's definitely not the guy on that team.
No, there's three guys.
Him is him, and that's Judge. He is him.
Well, it's Judge and Soto, and those
he
are
is
the
he.
guys.
I mean, that's
and
he's not even the third on the list, probably on that team.
Yeah, it's the other thing. The poor White Sox. It looks like their wins this year are going to be around 36 or 37. They're the second quickest to 100 losses since 1900. The 62 Mets hold the record for the most losses, and they might break that one. And that's
so let's talk about this for a minute. Is it just because nobody thought this with the White Sox, right? I mean, we knew they're not good, but I mean, that's bad. They didn't make that many. I mean, it's not far from the same team they had last year.
Well, they started out poorly. They fired their manager, and then they traded a lot of people at the trade deadline.
Right.
They were thrown in the towel. And I mean, they've underachieved for about a decade when they had all these good ball players, and everybody thought, well, this is the year the White Sox are going to do well in the Central Division.
Pretty much had the Cuban national team on their team.
Yeah, and then they would underperform. You know who else that underperforms? Toronto.
Yes.
Every year. Toronto's going to win the East, and boom, they just don't do well. I mean, I don't know what it is, but they underperform, and the White Sox underperform. Well, now they've just thrown in a towel, and they're just, I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to start. They have to start over again and try to build a team. But the 62 Mets had 120 losses, and they might break that. I don't know if they will or not. It's somewhat ironic. The White Sox and the Mets are playing this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the Mets won yesterday and they're winning today. So,
I think they're out of it because even though they played well against the Diamondbacks, they took 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks. The Braves are just braving it up. I mean,
but the Braves are playing the Phillies, and they lost. They played a 4-game series with the Phillies. The Braves have won 1, and they're probably going to lose 3. So
right, but I mean, still,
it's going to be hard for the Mets to catch Atlanta.
They were 3.5 out yesterday, so which was Saturday, I should say, since we're recording this on Sunday. Tough.
And the other thing,
I don't think they're good enough to be in the playoffs, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and that's. Well, unfortunately, there's several teams that aren't doing very well. I mean, right now, I'll do this in the standings, but as of this morning, in the last 10 games, the teams with the best record, the Cubs and the Los Angeles Dodgers are both 8-2, and the Diamondbacks were 7-3. The Cubs in 8 games scored 76 runs. They've scored 7-5 against the Nationals in the Friday night and yesterday, and today they're beating the Nationals 14-1. Last I looked.
So let me ask: are
they're
these home games
more than the Bears will?
Are these home games for the Cubs?
No, they're playing in Washington.
Well, Washington, same thing. So warm days, we know the ball travels well.
Yeah. It's it's just, but they're just.
The point I'm getting to is, it's going to be in the 70s this week. And I don't know if summer's over or what. I don't know, but I don't know if we're going to have some hot dog days left, where the ball's flying all over the place like a Super Bowl.
And then the other thing I'd like to talk about, and I mean, the Nationals have looked awful against the Cubs, but they played the Yankees 6 times this year, 3 times in Yankee Stadium and 3 times in Washington, and they're 4-2. They're 4-2. They won 2 out of 3 in Yankee Stadium. They won 2 out of 3 in Washington. I found out a few things while I was, watching these games. One, I didn't realize it until one of the announcers said it on the Washington broadcast. The Yankees have trouble with left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
So Corbin beat Cole. Corbin actually has pitched well his last 5 or 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like the old Corbin because he's getting his breaking pitches over the plate. Mm-hmm. And
when you got no chance of winning anything, you can pitch a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing is the Yankees are leading all of baseball into hitting into double plays. I thought that was the Nationals, but it's not. The Yankees are leading the major leagues into hitting into double plays.
Huh.
Dylan Cruz was called up by the Nationals, mm-hmm. and he's now batting leadoff, and he's hit a couple of home runs. The Cubs have made him look mortal, but they've got a young nucleus they can build around. But the Cubs are just whitewashing them right now. I mean, it's just. But the Yankees lost 4-6 to Washington, and they strike out a lot and they hit into a lot of double plays. And I picked them to go to the World Series and play the Phillies, who I think still are the best all-around team in baseball. But I'm not sure that the Yankees are going to come out of the American League or not. Although I'm trying to think of somebody else in the American League that's good enough to beat them. And I
just don't know who's got pitching. Like, the pitching is what is going to win because Baltimore really doesn't have it.
And Baltimore last night, son. Kramer got hurt.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, Kramer being hurt. So, but you got to look at the pitchers, and that tends for me to look at the Central a little bit. You look at the Guardians. You look at the Twins.
Lorenzen went out for the Kansas City.
Yeah. Oh, really? Kansas City's making a huge push right now. They can make some noise, but I don't know if they got enough pitching. Out west, you got the Astros, who their pitching is so up and down this year. They look like superstars one week and then look like batting practice the next. But they've been putting it on here lately, so that team just knows how to win.
They know how to win, and I mean, there's a possibility they could come out of the American League. Right. I'm just picking the Yankees. I just don't see that many good, really outstanding in the National League. The Phillies they might come out of the National League because that's who I'm picking. Because I think they've got the 2 starters that you need at the front in Nola and Wheeler, and they've got good pitching and a decent bullpen, and they got an outstanding lineup.
And you got Ranger Suarez in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to get by the Dodgers, maybe Arizona or San Diego,
and they still have the same problem where they depend so much on the long ball with scoring without hitting home runs. I pointed this out this is my 3rd year talking about it, and they're right back. It looks like they're back to the same.
As long as they pitch shutouts, they'll be fine.
Right.
And the other thing is too.
But Diamondbacks are playing at the top. The Padres are playing real well.
And don't sleep on Milwaukee.
Yeah, and Milwaukee they figure out things. It just doesn't their managers in Chicago. That might be a reason why Chicago's better here in the second half. But that Milwaukee team's just built different. I don't know if it's the beer or what. I don't know. The beer and brats in Milwaukee must be special.
The Nats are leading baseball in stolen bases, and the Wood kid had 3 in one game against the Yankees. And Cruz led off in that last game against the Yankees and got 2 hits.
I've seen where he's playing really, really well.
And Corey Seager Corey Seager got to 200 home runs. He hit his 200th home run Friday night. That's a good that kid can play, and he's a great player too. Okay, Pete Alonso, your boy.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso passed Mike Piazza third place on the home run list for the Mets.
Yep.
And he hit a bomb yesterday. And the Phillies, Nick Castellanos came out and he said that baseball should penalize the teams that don't try to win. In other words, the teams that don't pay the gazillion-dollar salaries for these ball players. And I think you and I have said it before. He has a point. There are some teams
there is a point to it.
They're collecting money, but they don't seem to want to pay for the contracts. Some of them don't have the money to. If you out to Washington offered Bryce Harper a $300 million contract, but he took a little more money to go with the Phillies. They offered a big contract to Soto.
I think they offered him more years.
And they got outbid
right
on both those ball players.
Yeah, the only way that it could really happen is if they put a hard cap.
That's what I was going to say, Mr. Castellanos.
Yeah,
and you don't want to hear this.
Yeah,
the only way you're going to do that is put a hard cap so the big teams can't keep outbidding everybody.
Right.
That's the only way you're going to do it.
And you can't in this deferment where you deferring money to like the grandkids. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
that is to me just the Dodgers.
His great grandchild is going to be getting. The
Dodgers are making so much money off of maybe the greatest player of all time, at least the greatest hitter, and person on the base pass. But man,
well, he's also now up to he's got 42 home runs and 41 stolen bases.
I thought he was 43 is what I read.
Well, it might be now. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
First one in history, 43.
Yeah, he's 43, the youngest. He's young. Yeah. First in history for that, and the youngest to go to 40.
Yeah.
He was the youngest. Pasquatch got hurt.
Oh, no.
Yep, that's hurt in Kansas City. They haven't won since he got hurt. He got a broken thumb. He's
like their fan favorite, even with Witt there.
Well, no, they got a guy in a Sasquatch suit.
Yeah.
And when he hits a home run or gets a double or something, he comes out of the people start hollering. He comes out to open the doors. Sasquatch comes out and walks around.
Yeah, Pasquatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started that, and then he got hurt.
And they also lost Michael Wacha, another starting pitcher. He's on the IL with a fractured.
He was actually pitching like Michael Wacha from 10 years ago.
Exactly.
This year.
And Shohei signed an exclusive deal with, several players do, with Fanatics. They're going to handle all of his baseball cards.
Yeah, but since I am a baseball card fanatic, if people don't know me from this channel, but it's kind of funny because Topps is the only person making. They got the exclusive rights to baseball cards right now.
Yeah, don't ask me how this is going to work. I don't even collect baseball cards, and I knew that. I knew Topps had an exclusive with that with Major League Baseball. Don't ask me how this works. Let the lawyers.
Well, I know. I think it's more for like autographs, and like Fanatics has a huge memorabilia section on their webpage. So for autographs and getting his game use stuff and things like that, so it doesn't get the Upper Deck or Panini or somewhere else. That's what it's for. But it's kind of funny that they get the exclusives when Topps is.
Yeah.
It's the way it was worded, because I was laughing when I read that, and I was like, and then I figured out what it was. Because Upper Deck has like Gretzky, Jordan, and they don't even make basketball cards. So, but they have exclusive rights.
Well, Washington Nationals also, it's the first today. So they called up Darren Baker, Dusty's son, to the major league team. So he was drafted in 2017, and So he's coming up to the big team.
So was he out of high school drafted? I hope.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't. He could have gone to college, but he went in under draft.
Okay.
That's when his dad was managing the Nationals.
Right.
In 17. And then also I read this article about the Dodgers may be able to put in a bid for Soto as a free agent because with the
19 or to 2040.
Well, the $700 million contract they've got with Soto, with Shohei, they're paying his kids. They're only paying him $2 million a year. They have a $238 million payroll this year. That's fifth, and they're not even the top team.
And they did the same thing with Yamamoto.
Exactly, and they don't. And so they can do it with Soto because they've also got they've got several contracts that come off the books this year where they could save $170 million. So they could give a contract like to $500 million for 10 years to Soto and still not have the highest contract.
And here's a crazy thing: last night they went back to back to back home runs. So
yeah, I was going
to go back to back to back to back.
Yeah, it was Shohei, and then it was Mookie, and then it was Freddie, and It was not only back to back to back; it was on 3 pitches.
I didn't know that.
I was watching the highlights this morning on MLB, like I do every morning before I go to church. Boom, 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 and then in the bottom of the first. In the bottom of it, and it was beautiful too, because the announcer said when the Diamondback pitcher started pitching, well, he hasn't lost to the Dodgers in 16 games. And boom, 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 3 pitches, 3 home runs. Corbin Carroll comes up in the bottom of the first and hits an inside the park home run. And the announcer, after he scores, the crowd's going nuts, and the announcer one of the announcers goes, "What is going on here?" But it was something. Oh, and
they must have been playing in Arizona. God, I was watching them. I hate watching games in Arizona. I just can't stand it. It's terrible.
If you really want to do something, I guess you can Google it or YouTube it or something about great plays, or maybe pull up MLB and call up great plays for the last day in August. Those games yesterday. They were some of the greatest catches I've ever seen. You got to see the catch by the Braves center fielder on a home run ball by a Philadelphia player. He is over the fence like this and makes the catch. It's one of the greatest over the fence catches I've ever seen in my life. So if you can Google it or pull it up, some highlights somewhere, some of these, and there was other plays on the infield and that. But talking about, I was watching the Orioles last night. I was watching Notre Dame and Texas A&M, and said, "Man, this ain't baseball." So I turned on baseball. I love college football. Don't get me wrong, my second favorite. But I turned on baseball. I was watching the Orioles. Kramer, they got enough people hurt. It's like the Hurt Locker, the movie. It's just crazy. He got hit with a line drive up the middle. And it hit him right on his pitching hand, right here. It looked like he had a sweet potato on his arm when he took him off the field. Now, they x-rayed it, and he has no broken bones, but they're not sure about soft tissue damage, and in the least, he's got a bone bruise. And if you've ever had a bone bruise, boys and girls, and I've had a few, they hurt, and he won't be pitching for a while. Then Ramon Urias, the third baseman, he's going to play at third base. One of the Rockies is sliding into third base, and he got his ankle caught on the corner of the bag, and it turned his ankle over, and he twisted his ankle, and they had to help him off the field. He was out of the game. The man, you could tell when the manager Brandon Hyde, the look on his face, like, when's this going to end?
Right.
And so I picked the Orioles to win the division and the Yankees to go to the World Series. I don't see how the Orioles, with the injuries they've got, especially their pitching staff, and they didn't do anything in the trade deadline that was worth anything. I don't see how they're going to make it as far as winning that division. I just don't see it because I just don't see it. I mean, the Yankees, they'll be fine if they don't have to play the Nationals. So, but of course, the Yankees, they beat the Cardinals, and then they lost to the Cardinals last night. And today, I think it was 11-7 or something. They were behind again in the seventh inning, which doesn't mean they're going to lose because you got Aaron Judge and these other bombers. But the Yankees aren't playing all that great. But here we go. I mean, it's just that. Now, what else have I got? Have I got anything else here? Oh, yeah. Clayton Kershaw went on the IL with his hamstring. So my advice to Clayton is just retire, son. You got plenty of money. Enjoy life. No need putting your body through any more of this mess.
Got World Series, you know.
You're going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Oh, yeah. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. I just think so. I think he will. I'm pretty sure he's going to make it. So,
his plus is he did great during the regular season. He just wasn't the greatest in the postseason.
He had the A-Rod syndrome.
Yeah.
A-Rod was great during the regular season. He got to the postseason and he got booed off the field. But I mean, it's kind of funny because we do this show and we got a few people that really like this show and watch it, and you and I have fun. Whether anybody watches,
we're gonna have this discussion anyway.
we're gonna be sitting here talking to each other on a Sunday anyway. I mean, it's just when we talk to each other. But I mean, it's just you watch sports and you can see real life in sports sometimes. The ups, the downs, the happiness, the dread. I mean, watching a golf tournament, guys rolling, winning by 3 or 4 shots, comes up to the tee, smiling at his caddy and everything, hits the drive and goes in the water. He gets a double bogey, and guess what? The 3-shot lead's down to 1. Now he's sweating bullets.
Yeah.
So it's like that in every sport. Team's going up and down the field, and he throws an interception in the football. All of a sudden, team can't make a basket in basketball. I mean, it's just like that. And the other thing is, too, I watched Caitlin Clark the other night score 31 and have 16 assists.
But she had 12 assists.
It was
3 rebounds, 31 points.
Yeah, it was
against Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was stupid. I mean,
the night before ESPN had the list and had Angel Reese as the number 1 rookie, and then the next night Caitlin Clark went out and did that.
Well, I mean, I am not taking anything away from Angel Reese.
Angel Reese is awesome.
She is a rookie leading the league in rebounding. That is outstanding.
Even though most of her rebounds is off of her own shots, but that's okay. Huh?
I mean, she's outstanding, and she set a record for double-doubles for a rookie.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking anything away from Angel Reese, but that league owes everything to Caitlin Clark. They wouldn't have the ratings they got, the plane trips. They wouldn't have anything without her.
So somebody said, and I know we're baseball guys, but so somebody said you would never heard anybody compare Dennis Rodman to Michael Jordan, and that's what's being happening right now.
Yeah.
It's like, and Angel Reese goes, and most of her rebounds is off her own shot. So
yeah.
Because she has the worst shot in basketball.
Okay, now in the American League, these are the standings now. The Yankees are leading the O's by a half game. I don't know. The Orioles are winning today, and the Yankees are losing, but the games aren't over, so who knows what's going to happen. In the Central, Minnesota, Cleveland is leading. Kansas City, for 5 minutes, got the lead in the American League Central, and then Cleveland beat them the next night. They won 3 out of 4 from Cleveland. That was before Pasquatch got hurt.
Right.
But Cleveland leads Minnesota and Kansas City by 2 games. In the West, the Stros are up by 4.5 over the Mariners, and the Mariners have a winning record since they changed managers. But they just don't score the run. I mean, I don't know what it is. They They got great pitching. They just don't score a lot of runs. In the National League, the Atlanta Braves are trailing Philadelphia by 5, and they're playing today. The Mets are 7.5 back. In the Central, Milwaukee is leading the Cubs by 10.5, and the Cubs have caught fire. They just waited too late. In the West, LA leads Arizona by 3, and San Diego by 4.5. There are still 12 teams, as it has been for the last 3 weeks, with losing records.
That's probably how it's going to end.
And wild card. It's the O's. I'm sorry. I'm doing the wrong thing here. I'm sorry. I gave you the wrong information, son. I read the wrong thing. I read last week's.
Oh,
here we go. I got it right now, guys. I should have used a different sheet of paper. Now, here it is. I said that because this doesn't sound right. All right. In the AL, the New York Yankees are leading the O's by a game and a half. Cleveland is up 2.5 over Kansas City and 3.5 over Minnesota. The Stros are up by 5 over the Mariners, so they picked up a half a game during the week. In the National League, the Phillies are up by 6 over Atlanta, and the Mets are out 8, so they're 2 behind Atlanta. Milwaukee's up by 10 games over Chicago, and the Dodgers are up by 6 over Arizona and San Diego. And the Dodgers and Chicago both were 8-2 this past week in the 10 games. In the wild card, in the American League, it's Baltimore, Kansas City, and Minnesota. The Red Sox are 3.5 back. They were losing like crazy, and then they won 4 in a row. So they got back in 3.5. Seattle's 4.5. And Detroit, who was my surprise team in the American League, and they're doing pretty well. They got a winning record. They're 5-0. In the National League, it's Arizona, San Diego, and Atlanta, same as it has been. The Mets are 2 out. The Cubs are 4 out. So the Cubs are 4 out of the wild card.
Right.
So they can't win the division, but they're only 4 out in the wild card.
Right.
They keep doing what they're doing. I mean, it kind of impressive. I mean, I'm watching the highlights and seeing the Cubs score all these runs. I mean, it's just amazing that I think we were talking about the American League. I will say this. Houston, in another few weeks, are going to have just about everybody back that was hurt. All their injuries. So, except for the guys that are having Tommy John that went out, the pitchers.
Right.
But when they get everybody back, they might be the team in the American League again to beat. But I wouldn't swear to. I mean, Texas, they're not going to do what they did last year because they're so far back. You can always hold hope for Seattle. And Minnesota's only, Minnesota and Kansas City and Cleveland, whoever wins that division can give somebody some trouble. We saw last year, Texas and Arizona.
Yeah.
So how can I sit here and say, oh, I don't see anybody beating the Yankees or the Phillies when it was Texas and Arizona last year? I mean,
right.
It's just a stupid statement.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why they play the games. I mean, that's why they play them. Well, that is, we're getting. I should have looked how many games are left. I want to say there's only this month, like 4 weeks left of the season.
There's still quite a few games left.
Yeah, October is, I think September is it, and then October is playoff time. So, it's counting them down, and it's usually when you look at the standing, it's 1 game a week. You feel like you could pick up 1 game a week. That's why I like to know how many weeks are left. So within 4 games, people theoretically still have a shot at it. So, and anybody, and if anything, if history hasn't told us anything, that this is the time of year where teams nosedive and teams go on winning streaks. So
we saw it last year. You and I picked teams to do. Well, these teams are going to win. They're going to win the division, and then the next thing you know, they lost 5 games.
Right. Yeah. So that's how it happens. So we're going to leave y'all with that this week. If Dan,
well, I do have a yogiism.
Okay, I was going to say anything.
Yeah. In 1955, Yogi went through a month where he was like 1 or 2 for 30. And one of the New York writers asked him how he was going to get out of the slump. The Yogi said, "What slump? I'm not in a slump. I'm just not hitting."
That sounds like Yogi. Well, on that, I'm definitely going to say good night or good afternoon or good morning, whatever it is. For y'all that listen to us on your way into work, have a nice day at work. And please hit that like. Tell your friends about us. Let us know what you're thinking of the playoffs. Any questions for Pop, let us know. And until next time, subscribe if you haven't to the channel. Thank you for watching. And until next time, see ya.